someone comes over to like the CEO of Anheuser-Busch standing right behind you.
Right.
So I go to the POTUS, I'm like, hey, that's the CEO of Anheuser-Busch. Trump's like, you want to go talk to him? I'm like, I do.
Hey y'all, thanks for stopping in. So you might remember this last weekend when Donald Trump, Dana White, Kid Rock, and Tucker Carlson all walked into Madison Square Garden in the middle of New York City to the cheers and applause from the crowd. Well, you just be the judge. How do you think the crowd reacts? Don Jr. in there too. But something you might not have known that happened that night, well, Kid Rock says he and Donald Trump confronted Anheuser-Busch CEO at the UFC fight. This one is from Billboard. Only God knows why Kid Rock is still talking about his feud with Bud Light, but the inflammatory rap rocker added more fuel to the fire on Wednesday night. In an interview with Sean Hannity and on his Fox News show, Rock claimed that during his appearance alongside Donald Trump at UFC 295 on Saturday night, November 11th, he and the former president confronted Anheuser-Busch's CEO, Brendan Ball Whitworth, regarding the company's flagship brand, Bud Light, sending a commemorative beer can to trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney. So, Trump and I go over, we actually had a great conversation with Whitworth, Rock said. Before relaying this, I told him, you signaled a lot of people like myself, ... which is curious, selective editing, right? By sending that can to the trans kid, you kind of signaled to us that you support that lifestyle, and more importantly, men being in women's sports or in my granddaughter's locker room. Most of us draw a hard line right there. Okay, so maybe that's a little insight on what Kid Rock was thinking when he actually shot up the Bud Light cans in the infamous video, right? Back in April, Rock made headlines when he posted a video of himself shooting a case of Bud Light after seeing a promotional video. Yeah, okay, we all know that. During his interview with Hannity, Rock said he never called on fans to boycott or cancel the brand in the wake of their work with Mulvaney. I said, F you. What are you doing injecting yourself into this conversation? These polarizing social issues. He asked, you could be doing so much more positive stuff just making us laugh and drink beer. Which is something I agree with on that part at least. The Devil Without a Cause singer also claimed that he could coexist in public spaces with transgender and gay people before sharing a message directly to both communities. Be yourself. If you're cool with me, I'm cool with you. That's how most people are, he said. But as soon as you bring our kids into this, that's where you're going to bring hatred into it. Leave our freaking kids out of it. That's the bottom line. Yep, I agree with that too. Let's just check out the interview.
He's known for his music, his outspoken views on everything. He's absolutely fearless when it comes to woke cancel culture. He calls himself uncancelable.
My wife and I just bought tickets to this. I'm really looking forward to going to one of these shows.
Rock the Country Tour, headlining 7 small-town festivals. I wonder if that name is on purpose. And, of course, in the spring and summer of 2024, in a release, Kid Rock said, the tour is for everyone who makes this country run and loves America. Nobody knows how to party like a small-town American. Kid Rock is also hosting the Rock and Roll Rodeo in Texas this coming May. He joins us with more. How you doing? Great to see you. I hurt your wrist. I didn't realize that was a wrist thing, man. First, let me get to this issue. You are uncancelable. You don't give a flying rip. And
we say it a little different than rip, but that is correct.
Well, I mean, I can't say it. I mean, I just say it differently. I call it Adam Schiff. I call, you don't give a shit.
I'm just not in bed with any corporate entities, where that would put me in a position where people could raise a stink. And I decided years ago, I've been very blessed. I've worked hard and still be able to do this at a high level in 25 years. And I decided when I was going to get, vocal about all things, like it's not a time I have never been vocal. I came out with middle fingers on my first CD, with my mouth just going like this. And I really haven't changed. The times have.
Right.
But I decided when I was really going to get vocal, surely for my love of this country and use my voice to, speak on things that mean a lot to me, that there wasn't going to be any corporate.
Got to fact check him real quick. His first CD that he claimed right there was Devil Without a Cause with the middle fingers. His first CD is actually Grit Sandwiches for Breakfast. Just saying.
deals. And I'm fine with that because, you know, I've always tried to live that there's no
Jive Records.
dollar amount on this God's green earth that would get me to, you know, not be able to be who I am.
But I think people love you more because of it.
I hope so.
All right, so-
I turned down a lot of money for it.
I'm a huge fan of Dana White. I saw you with President Trump and Dana and Tucker, and you guys all went to the MMA, what was it, the Garden? I think,
UFC,
right?
yeah,
UFC.
Garden.
All right, so he was on this show,
I saw.
and it was about Bud Light. He took,
Here we go.
he took on as a sponsor. Now, I'll tell you why I've never in my whole life ever supported a boycott. I've never called for a firing or a cancellation, ever. I mean, even people that I can't stand, like Bill.
By the way, I didn't either.
Yeah, okay. So,
Which in my opinion is a losing recipe. In the game that's being played today, the one side tends to want to forgive and forget. The other side tends to take ground and take ground and take ground. So, you know, you can't. I'll just leave it at that.
what I worried about in that case was the guys that have the beer
Working
routes.
class people.
Right, the guys that work in the factory, the guys that load the trucks. They're not the guys that made that stupid, you know.
Oh, they had no dog in this fight at all. It's actually funny. Speaking of that UFC fight, I'm standing there with our favorite president,
Right.
and someone comes over to like the CEO of Anheuser-Busch standing right behind you.
Right.
So I go to the POTUS, I'm like, hey, that's the CEO of Anheuser-Busch. Trump's like, you want to go talk to him? I'm like, I do. So me and him go over. We actually had a great conversation.
Really?
Because, you know, if you put this in context, why did this start? It's like, you know, I told him that night, I go, you signaled to a lot of people like myself, like-minded people. Put the trans thing aside for a minute, right? I was like, but by sending that can to the trans kid, you kind of signaled to us you support this lifestyle, and more importantly, like men being in women's sports or in my granddaughter's locker room. Most of us draw a hard line right there. Nah. What are you
have
doing?
a granddaughter. You're like
Got
40,
two grandkids.
You're like 42 years old. Well, go ahead.
It gets cold in Detroit, Sean.
Yeah, I guess it does.
So I said, you signaled that to us. I said, but speaking of, I was like, you know, if someone wants to be trans, I was like, I didn't rip that kid. I said, F you guys. I said, I didn't even say boycott or cancel. I said, F you. I said, what are you doing? Injecting yourself into this conversation, these polarizing social issues. I was like, you know, you could be doing so much more positive stuff, just making us laugh and drink beer. But I said, if someone wants to dress up like a girl, they want to be transgender or whatever, a lot of people fought and died for them to do that. Go for it. We can coexist. You know, in public places, you might not be my first dinner invite, you know what I mean? And I'm probably not yours. And if you're gay, no one cares anymore, right? We all got gay
Right.
family members, gay friends, gay coworkers. It's like, cut
Right.
it out. Just be gay.
You know,
I'm not going to clap
You know what I hear?
louder for you.
You know what I hear from you saying? You believe in freedom.
Yeah.
But if you want to indoctrinate kids in school,
That's what I tell my. Let me say this to the trans and gay community right now. Be yourself. That's cool. You're cool with me. I'm cool with you. That's how most people are. But as
Right.
soon as you bring our kids into this, that's where you're going to bring hatred into it. Leave our freaking kids out of it. That's the bottom line.
All right. Well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and just wrap it up there. I figured I'd let you watch the whole interview. As most of you guys know, well, some of you guys know, I guess I should say. I typically don't read these articles ahead of time. I like to be surprised, get the news along with you guys, and then, of course, share my opinions. With that, I'll see you guys in the next one.